Good morning. I just finished up with a group of my clients reading through the book Seven Habits of Highly Effective People. Now, this is a book that I recommend for anyone at any time for any reason. It's a book focused on principles rather than quick fix techniques. So it doesn't say these are the seven habits that if you do these all the time, you're perfect. It doesn't say if you do these seven habits, you'll have extremely quick results. The book is about is if you follow these guidelines, if you really apply them in your life, then you will start to see improvement and success in many areas of life. It's principles, universal principles that last forever for any human being that has ever lived, rather than this is a technique for marketing on the internet right now, whatever that is. Now, one way he finishes off the book, in habit number 7, he talks about renewal. Now, what is renewal? Renewal is not simply rest. Renewal is this really odd word that is basically nourishing. It's about nourishing some aspect or area of your life so that it has everything that it needs so that you will get what you want out of it. I'll give you an example. My wife loves to garden. And in the spring, often she renews the earth by putting certain fertilizer in it, or certain whether it's manure, or whether it's eggshells, or whatever she's putting in to get the results she wants. She renews the ground. There's nutrients that are missing over time. And that's the same with our body. Another good example is our body. We need to eat food. We need fuel. Now, if we put sugar in our body, that's not renewal, right? That is, maybe it tastes decent, but that's not renewal. It's not nourishing. It's not giving our bodies what we need so that we can do what we want to do for the rest of the day. I hope that makes sense, because what I'm going to do, Stephen Covey in his book covers 4 areas of renewal for all of life. And again, these could be broken into different areas. There's nothing magical about the 4, but he does cover all the major areas of life in these 4, and I'd like to cover them in this week and next week. So I'm going to cover 2 this week, 2 next week. These principles, again, they're principles. They apply to anyone. They're universal at any time in history. Are really about improvement in any area of life. They're a basic part of my life, and they've helped me in relationships. With my wife, with my kids, with my family, with friends, with clients, with whoever it is, negotiating real estate deals, and they can help with investments. They can help with what was I thinking there? They can help with business. They can help with physical health. They can help in many different areas of our life. So what I like about principles, Ray Dalio has a book called Principles as well, and the idea is follow these guidelines. These are basic truths that apply to anyone at any time. And if we apply them, we will have long-term results. Now, here's the quick warning. One of the disadvantages of principles is that you need to apply them for a period of time. It's not like the quick fix techniques that are sold to us by marketers who say, hey, do these 3 things and you will have instant results. That's not what this is about. Will you have instant results? I mean, you're going to improve certain things from the start, but you're not going to see a lot of these results. These are the kind of thing that make a long-term improvement. But here's the advantage. The advantage is that it's a long-term improvement. When you're doing these on a consistent basis, one bad day is not going to throw you off. One rough conversation is not going to throw you off forever. They are principles that apply to us that help us long-term, in that they build momentum in a really unique way. So like I said, I do these, I try to practice these things every single morning. I try to cover every one of these 4. The 4 areas are physical renewal, mental and emotional renewal, relationship or social renewal, and the 4th is spiritual renewal. Now, the spiritual one often throws people off. I think people often think that it has to be a religion, and then that's not the case. We're spiritual creatures. We have values and desires. I'll talk about it next week. But for this week, what I wanted to cover was mental or emotional renewal and physical renewal. And some of this you'll have heard before, but this is part of the practice that I have on a consistent basis, on a daily basis. All right. With physical renewal, this covers many different areas of life, but what I'll cover are the 4 main things. If you do these 4 main things on a consistent basis, you will have what you need for your physical health to last longer, to have far more energy, to get done what you need to get done. And your body's going to last longer too, okay? And these four are diet, sleep, exercise, water. Those four, okay? I didn't include water with diet just because it's a little bit different. Now, we usually overemphasize in our culture diet. We talk a lot about diet. We talk a lot about exercise. The one that we don't talk a lot about, well, even water, right? But the one that we don't talk about very much is sleep. Now, the reason I don't think we talk about it in our culture a lot is because even though it takes up to a third of every day, up to a third of our lifetimes in some ways, it is something that we don't understand very well. I've done a crazy amount of research on sleep. I'm curious about sleep. I read updated researchers on sleep, and people still don't really understand sleep all that well. We don't understand dreams all that well. We don't understand the stages of sleep and exactly how they're interacting with our bodies. We know that it helps us. We know that we need different types of sleep. But those interactions, really intimately knowing what this is about, researchers still don't really have a clue. They have ideas, they have hypotheses, but really we don't have a clue. What I want to say about sleep, and I'm going to leave out those other three, although do them on a consistent basis. Move your body on a consistent basis. Put good fuel into your body, and drink enough water. Our bodies are made up of a lot of water. We need a lot of water for our immune systems, for whatever else we need. But why I'm focusing on sleep is because we don't typically talk about it. And I'm going to be talking about it very quickly right now. If you can do one thing to change your sleep, to make it better, I would encourage you to research something called sleep hygiene. Sleep hygiene. You can Google it. There's a lot of really good information about it online. It's fairly easy to learn a little bit about it, and it'll give you your biggest bang for your buck, okay? It's a principle that if you follow this, it's basically what I'll describe it a little bit right now. What sleep hygiene is how you prepare for sleep, how you prepare your environment for when you're actually sleeping, so getting ready to sleep, when you're actually sleeping, and then what happens when you wake up. And it's all about a routine. The more consistent your routine, the more consistent your circadian rhythm. I don't expect you to know that word. Circadian rhythm is our natural internal clock that tells us when to get up, when to fall asleep, when we get hungry, when to desire certain things or get ready for certain things. It's brilliant, and the more consistent we are, the healthier we are, generally speaking. Okay, so research sleep hygiene, look into it a little bit. Starting a sleep routine is phenomenal. And the last aspect I'll talk about with sleep is wake up at a consistent time. We have it in our minds that weekends are for a different routine than our daily weekly routine, and that's true on some level. But our work week, yeah, maybe we won't work the same. We need rest on some level. We need renewal, but really we could wake up at the same time every day. We have very unhealthy sleep patterns in North America, and what I'd encourage you to do is do a little bit of research. Get up at a consistent time. Make that a consistent time. Go to bed at a consistent time. And when you do that, you'll start to feel better. You'll need less sleep on a consistent basis. So you need to catch up less, and you will actually have a lot more energy. Okay, so that's where I'll leave that. Let's talk about mental and emotional renewal a little bit. Actually, physical renewal. If you're taking care of those 4 areas that I talked about, diet, sleep, exercise, and water, you will actually be healthier emotionally. Good research shows over and over and over, I've seen it in my own life and those around me, that when we're taking care of our own bodies, we're taking care of our own minds. But to get into mental and emotional health, here's the one recommendation I would give in this area. It's all about having a clear mind. It's about having a mind that works well into the future instead of experiencing or having a higher chance of experiencing dementia or something else in our older age. The number one thing you can do that will make a big difference long term for you is to consistently have a learner's mindset, to learn something every day. And here's what I recommend. I'd recommend just learn what you're curious about. You don't have to study electric engineering. You don't have to study astrophysics in order to work your mind. You have to consistently learn. So as an example, if you picked up a new instrument, I don't know how old you are. I'm 42 right now. I don't know how old you are. But if you picked up a new instrument and said, you know what, I'm going to learn how to play the violin. That is something that you can do that will, if you do it on a consistent basis, you're learning and you're growing, actually is so healthy for your brain, for your mental health. Or you could learn a new language. Even if you're not going to use the language, you could learn it, and what it will do, you've got to learn it somewhat, or use it somewhat to learn it, but what it will do is allow your brain to function on a completely different level. We get into routines in our thinking. We get into routines of not learning. I like books. You don't necessarily have to read books, but I'd highly recommend you pick up the practice of reading books. I've met so many clients who say, Mark, I'm not a reader, or I can't read, or I'm not a very good reader. And when they start reading, they realize, wow, this is phenomenal. So number one thing I would recommend for your mental health is to start a practice of learning. It could be anything that you're curious about. There's a great company called The Great Courses. I think they're called Wondrium now, but basically, maybe I'll put it in the notes here on YouTube, but basically they hire professional teachers to teach about their area of expertise. And it's fascinating. You could learn about food, you could learn about meditation, you could learn about the history of whatever, the Peloponnesian War, or you could study some other area that you're curious about, like Tai Chi. It doesn't matter. It's got a wide range. They're very inexpensive, and you can learn a ton. My family loves the programs that they offer. We're always learning something. Secondly, with mental health. So number one, be curious, be learning. Try to learn something on a consistent basis. I would say on a daily basis. Secondly, what I'd recommend, and it just slipped in my mind. Sorry, I'm back. It ran out of my mind there for a second. The second thing is to practice thinking. So learn something, but then practice thinking. And here's an example. People have had a journaling practice for many years. For hundreds of years, people have journaled. And what journaling is simply putting your thoughts to paper. And there's a reason this is so magical for us. And that is, and you can do journaling one-to-one with another person as well, okay, if you've got a good person to talk to. But the reason journaling on paper is so important is it slows down our mind where we can process information. So here's what I do. I combine your learning with your journaling, your processing. Learn something, and then think through it a little bit. If you read a book, read it for 5 or 10 minutes, learn something, or watch something or whatever it is, and then journal it. Take your time to think through it. A lot of people are in passive learning mode, where we watch a video and then we go, oh, that was a good idea, and we completely forget about it. We don't apply these principles. If we just take a few minutes to write down what was the main idea from this video, what was the main idea from the book that I read this morning, and then how could I use this today? If you just ask those questions, again, 5 minutes a day, then all of a sudden your brain is processing that information in a completely different level. You get far more out of it. You learn and grow faster. So the first two things, physical health and mental health, or physical renewal and mental renewal, are things that I do on a daily basis. I move my body every single day, and sometimes it's stretching, sometimes it's a walk, sometimes it's a real good workout. And then secondly, mental renewal. I am constantly learning. I learn something every day. I'm pretty sure I've learned something every day for at least 5 or 6 years now. Very intentionally learn something every day. And when we're doing that, our minds are bright and we're able to interact far better. It helps with our relationships. It helps with our spirituality. These are all tied together. Next week, I'll cover the other two. Enjoy the end of your week.